Dear students, welcome to this lecture of Strategic Human Resource Management, and the topic which we are going to discuss today is building a multicultural organization. I am Dr. Tripti Barthwal. I am Director, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management and Development Studies, Lucknow. We have for the past 4 or 5 lectures, we have been discussing about international human resource management and how when companies go global, it is very important to see that the human resources are performing to the best of their potential, otherwise the entire strategy of going international will fail. And as a result of that, the role of the HR function becomes so very important. So, let us look at what a multicultural organization is. A multicultural organization is one that has a workforce that includes people from diverse backgrounds across all departments and which offers them equal opportunity for input and advancement within the company. So, not only in the definition you can see that you have people from diverse backgrounds, but you also have people whom you want to give equal opportunity. So, multinational organization does not merely mean that you bring people from different countries, from different cultures, make them work together and things are done. It also means that there has to be equal opportunities which has to be given to them to work. So, equal opportunity and diverse background, that is very important for a multinational or multicultural organization. A multicultural organization also possesses an absence of discrimination or prejudice, which we have seen in the definition, towards people based on their race, religion, ethnicity, gender, age, sexual orientation or physical limitation. In a multicultural organization, skill, talent and performance are the criteria for meritocratic achievement and advancement. So, all the promotions, all the incentives, they are based on the merit or the performance of the employee, and it is not based on from which country, which culture, which gender or from which group or which caste, creed the person is coming. Embracing cultural diversity in the workplace is the first step for businesses that want to be competitive in an international scale. So, if you want to go global, if you want to go international, then the first thing you want to do is to create a multicultural organization. If you think that you can go global, if an organization thinks that it can happily and successfully pursue an international strategy with the discrimination and prejudice for people coming from different cultures and backgrounds, then it is sadly mistaken. Impact of cultural diversity on organizational culture. A multicultural organization is the one that we have already discussed that they have people from diverse backgrounds. So, how do we manage a multicultural team? In order to manage a multicultural team, the first thing is, because we have people from different cultures, we have people who speak different languages, it is very, very important if you want to avoid prejudice or we want to propagate of an image that we are equal to all and we want to take everybody as a team member, want to work with them, all of them, then it is very important to overcome language and cultural barriers. When working in a multicultural team, one of the most common challenges is handling language barriers between employees. So, because in the earlier lectures we have discussed that though English is a very, very it is widely used across the world, but it does not mean that everybody understands English. Deep down, when you have to work in the shop floor or you have to interact with employees, employees are comfortable in their own native language. So, this becomes very, very important. Encourage the team to learn a few sentences or phrases in each language. That helps them to clear misunderstandings, that helps them to bring them close to each other, to gel in, and to create a effective team. Normalize that asking someone to repeat themselves is fine. Team members shouldn't feel embarrassed doing so, especially when working remotely. So, when we have people from different backgrounds and speaking different languages, uh, employees should be made to understand that it is very normal that the person whom you are interacting with will ask you to repeat sentences, because he may not be able to understand what you are saying in the first go. Many times, we come across people in our own country coming from different areas, from different regions, from different states, and they may not be able to understand, though we may be speaking in Hindi or English, but they may not be able to understand because our accent is different, or we may be using a particular tone which they are not used to. So, there can be a lot of problems, so we may be asked to repeat. So, there should not be any embarrassment, there should not be any bad feeling when you have to repeat yourselves, or when somebody is asking you to repeat, or you are asking somebody to repeat. And especially this would be more common when we are working online. Then there's this thing, because of the network issues or because you are not seeing each other physically, it will be all the more difficult to understand what the other person is saying. So, this should be taken in the stride. This should be taken as a very normal thing. Next is provide sensitivity training, because people are coming from different cultures. So, it is good to be sensitive to the cultural differences, to understand how these differences are working, why they are there, and how we can overcome them. So, in order to build a stronger multicultural working atmosphere, sensitivity training should be conducted for all workers. The sensitivity training may allow workers to respect diverse opinions, to consider the terms and actions that are offensive, and to consider on how to cope with any cultural issue that arises. So, when you have this sensitivity training, then you understand that what terms can be considered offensive, you should not be speaking to a person from a different culture, or what behaviors or what actions of yours can be considered offensive. Then the next is impose a zero tolerance policy. So, for discrimination, any bias, or any person belittling the other's culture or showing insensitivity to the other person's cultures or his customs, traditions, should be dealt with very seriously. Once workers have acquired the manual and training on diversity issues, the organization has to establish a clear and stern regulation on how contravention will be handled. Employees should be fully alerted that any improper behavior is not permitted, and each incident reported will be dealt seriously. Now, next is be open to all cultures and their differences. So, not only employees should be taught to be open to different cultures, different languages, but as the organization, as HR department also should be open to different culture differences. The best way to show your colleagues that you respect and appreciate them is by open to the tradition and values of all cultures. For instance, during the holiday season, it is important to vary decorations so all cultures are included. So, one very good way of handling this, just kind of bridging the differences between the cultures, is to celebrate all the festivals, or to vary the decoration of the organization according to different cultures. So, everybody feels happy, everybody feels included, everybody feels wanted. This way, the multicultural team will know that the organization respects and embraces whatever they celebrate. Then next is organize cross-cultural training. Now, we have been discussing about how to develop sensitivity towards culture differences. So, in that concept, it is very important to have cross-cultural training. The purpose of this training is to overcome cultural challenges at the office. That way people will get to know each other and educate themselves about various cultural beliefs. This training should highlight how to minimize the cultural barriers, how to avoid stereotypes and prejudices, which is the most important feature of a multicultural organization, that there aren't any biases or prejudices for people coming from different cultures, or especially a culture which is different from our own culture. How to appreciate your own and the skills of other cultures, that you are able to look for the beautiful things in the culture of other people. You are able to find out how much you can gain from the culture of somebody else. How to improve your social skills, how to be have how to develop and sustain good interpersonal relationships, how to become a cohesive group, or how to be more understanding of the other person, how to avoid conflicts, or if there is a cultural issue, how to handle that cultural issue. That is very, very important. How to become a better listener, because the basic the pillar of communication is listening. If you are not a good listener, you cannot be a good communicator, because when somebody sends a message, it is always intended for somebody to take that message. So, and once the message has been sent, then you look for a feedback, whether your message has been taken in the right way, in the right meaning, in the way you intended that message to be. So, in case if you are not listening to the feedback, if you feel that the other person is giving a feedback which is not relevant, and you are very sure and you are so much confident about your own communication skills that you ignore the feedback, you do not listen to it, then it can be a big problem. So, you have to be a great listener if you want to manage a multicultural team, if there are people from different backgrounds coming over, because listening helps to learn also. Listening means kind of focusing, observing, and it helps us to learn and to be a better team person, to be a better leader, and to be like a better person. How to aim attention on common principles rather than differences. So, instead of there are certain people who have a habit of only bringing up problem areas, only bringing up things which might go wrong or which have gone wrong. But develop an attitude, a cross-cultural training will help employees develop an approach where they will not focus problems and what went wrong. To focus on them is important, but to only focus on them is detrimental. So, people will not focus much on what went wrong. People will try to look for the brighter things, people will try to look for what things went well, and how we together as a team, people from different backgrounds, could manage things in a much better way. So, that is also very important for building a multicultural team. Now, empathy. I think the underlining fundamental for creating a multicultural team is empathy, listening. Why? Because if you do not empathize, you will never be able to understand and appreciate the cultural differences, and how you will never be able to develop a cohesive relationship with people coming from different cultures. So, empathy is very important, and I am sure you all know what empathy means. Empathy means the ability to step into the shoes of the other person. Empathy means to be able to see the situation from the perspective of the other person. That is, not being judgmental, not questioning the other person, but to be able to understand what the other person is feeling at that point of time, why he said or why he behaved in a particular way, what was the reason. So, that is empathy. And empathy is a very effective way to build trust with employees and promote mutual respect. Because once you start showing empathy to your colleagues, to your team members, then they kind of realize that you are understanding. You do not judge them, and gradually over a period of time they start placing trust on you, and it increases over time. So, while talking to colleagues, practice empathy. Empathy takes practice, and it is important to continually grow listening skills when in a leadership role. So, again the emphasis on listening skills and empathy has been given. So, empathy does not come in a day or two. Even listening will not come in a day or two, that I decide from today onwards that I will listen. It will not come, because as I said, that listening requires lot of concentration, lot of focus, lot of energy, and lot of involvement on our part. So, that we have to train ourselves, that we have to remind ourselves every day, and then only it will come. So, but once these two things comes, then it will be very easy for us to manage a multicultural team, and especially these become important when a person is in the role of a leader, because everybody wants the leader to listen to them, and if the leader is listening only to a few people and ignoring others, then it shows bias, it shows prejudice, and the morale of the team members who are not being listened to goes down. And in fact, the leader is also committing a serious mistake, because he could have got suggestions and ideas from so many people, but in fact he is not listening to many of them, and hence he is being denied of those ideas or those suggestions. And people coming from different cultures, because they have their own different experiences, they can come with different ideas, totally different from each other, and some ideas can be really very brilliant ones. Then making an attempt to understand what co-workers is experiencing helps mutual relationships with them to thrive. So, everybody in this world, especially not even animals also, but human beings to a larger extent, they require that people should understand them. People should not misunderstand them. People should not judge them, right? So, when a person or a leader or a team team member exercises empathy for the other person, then mutual relationships tend to blossom, they tend to grow. Now, practicing empathy has additional benefits too. It provides support for multicultural employees, so that they will continue providing quality work. So, when you feel wanted, when you feel that you are valued, and which is possible through listening and empathy, then as an employee, as a team member, you want to give your best to the organization. You want to ensure that in terms of quality, in terms of deadline, you never kind of be behind, or you can never give your boss or your leader a reason to complain. Then it helps them solve issues standing in their way to reach desired goals. So, if you are listening, that means you are be able to understand what are the issues which are bothering the employees. If performance is going down, what can be the possible reasons, where the employees are stuck, and as a result of that you can very easily solve those issues. At least you can come to know of those issues, and then you can discuss with the employees, and then you can help mutually solve those issues or problems. So, this is how also it helps, and empathy is a great thing in this, because the employees trust the leader because of he or she is so empathetic. So, they will be very true in speaking, they will pour their heart out before the leader. And obviously, when things are so clear, so open, there is so much of trust, there is so much of empathy between the leader and his team members, then what will happen? This will help to resolve conflicts very quickly and easily, because the whatever the leader will suggest, whatever the leader will say, the employees will have a lot of trust and faith in him. So, they will accept whatever solution the leader proposes to them. Then another thing which is very important and which is very common when we are dealing with people who are different from our culture, who come from a culture which is different from our culture, is being stereotypical or having stereotypes. You know what is a stereotype? Stereotype, you must be knowing, is that when you judge a person or when you attribute qualities to a person on the basis of the qualities of the group to which he belongs, right. For example, in a class, if you have 5 students who stay who are always together, who are friends, or you call them a group of this is a group of their group or this group. So, you know that they are very close to each other. So, if let us say 4 of them are very notorious indisciplined, then what will we say? That the 5th is also notorious, though we do not know much about that person, but we will say this is person, 5th person is also very notorious. And on the contrary, if 4 of them are very studious, then initially when we do not know the 5th person also, we will say that he is also very studious because he belongs to that group. So, what are we doing? We are giving characteristics to a person whom we do not even know on the basis of the characteristic of the group to which he or she belongs. So, this happens too much in a multicultural team, because it is, why do we create a stereotype? We create a stereotype because it is very easy to judge a person or to make conclusions about a person whom we do not know at all, right. So, it takes time, lot of observation to understand a person. With a stereotype, it becomes a very easy, it becomes a very shortcut type of a thing. So, as a leader, we should avoid stereotypes like we say, oh, he is from this country, he must be like this. He is from this country, oh, he must be very hardworking. We have not seen that person, we have not observed the person just on the basis of the group to which he or she belongs. We have been able to predict his personality, his behavior. There is a balance between being mindful of cultural differences and relying on stereotypes to make assumption about employees' behavior, right. So, you should be knowing that people come from different cultures, that is very important for a multicultural team, but just to trying to understand their behavior or to give them names or to give them labels just based on from what background they are coming, that is wrong. Everyone, regardless of their cultural upbringing, is an autonomous individual. So, co-workers should be treated in such manner. So, from wherever country we come, from whichever culture we come, from whichever caste we come, we cannot be defined by that only. We are different from each other. Each person of a country is different from each other. So, how can we give a judgment about each of them? In a very common or a general way. To avoid stereotypes, the leader should take time to become acquainted with every team member and encourage colleagues to do so well. So, if you take time, if you give some time to observation and to see how that person behaves, it will be a better idea, because then stereotypes will be avoided and you will have a real understanding of the person. The leader needs to remind himself frequently that each team member has a unique way of working and communicating with others. So, that has to be taken into consideration. Everybody will not behave in the same way, everybody will not speak in the same way, everybody will not perform in the same way. Everyone is an individual and has specific preferences. My likes and dislikes will not be similar to the likes and dislikes of each and every person who comes from my culture. So, every person, if we are dealing with a multicultural organization, we have to keep in mind that every person will have different likes and dislikes. Culture shapes behavior but does not dictate it. This is a very important and relevant point. Yes, if I belong to India, the culture of India is going to shape my behavior, that is for sure, because that comes automatically, naturally. But that does not mean that I will, my personality or my behavior will be shaped only by my culture. There can be many more things to my behavior or my personality apart from the culture to which I belong, and that is why people from different cultures are different, because culture will shape the behavior but does not dictate it. You can still, there is a scope of changing the behavior of people to whatsoever culture or background they belong to. So, so I hope that you have understood that how a leader should deal, or how he or she should manage a multicultural organization. What are the different things they should take into consideration, like empathy, sensitivity towards the cultural differences, listening, and then kind of building trust, understanding that people will be different, they will behave differently, and avoiding stereotypes or shortcuts in judging the people. Thank you so much.